Properties are, as the name suggests, attributes of a given entity. The reason I said entity instead of an object is because anything in Max can have properties, not just geometry objects. A bend modifier has angle, direction, axis, or a standard material could have a property whether it's set to faceted, what its diffuse color is, etc. In the spoken English language, the term object usually refers to actual geometry objects, things we can hold in our hands. However, in the programming world, any abstract entity is called an object. So if I say a variable can hold any Max objects, I don't just mean boxes and spheres, I also mean it could have a controller in it, or a bitmap, or a modifier, and so forth. All Max objects, remember that this means all entities, have properties that we can access in the same fashion through MaxScript. We'll now see how we can get to know what properties each object has, and how we can access them for modification. There are two basic ways to figure out what properties an object has. One is through using the MaxScript online help, which we'll see with an example a little later, and the other is using MaxScript itself, executing MaxScript functions. One MaxScript function that lists all the properties of an object passed to it is showProperties. It will serve our needs perfectly. So let's try this function on a simple box object. Create a box object in the viewport and have it selected. Then open up the listener window and type showProperties and the $sign variable. Remember that the $sign variable holds the current selection, the box in our case. So let's hit the numpad enter or shift enter to evaluate the line. But before we get to the actual properties listed, let's track how Max evaluated the command. It started reading the line from the left. So the first word it got was showProperties. It noted that this word is associated with a function, and this function, showProperties, is going to need one input variable. It got the $sign, which holds the box in itself. So Max passed the box value to the showProperties function and listed all the properties for that given object type. Looking at the list, we see the property names, the property types, and then a false in the last line. Let's not worry about that for now. The dot before the property names indicates that the value name belongs to a property. So when accessing properties, we'll actually have to use this dot as well. Let's try to evaluate $sign dot height. The result will be the value of the height property of our currently selected box. When Max evaluates this simple line again, it starts reading word by word. At first, it finds the $sign variable, which holds our current selection, this single box. So in Max's mind, the $sign gets substituted with the actual box. Then it reads further to figure out what we want to do with that box. The following dot height means we want to get to the height property of it. To change the property, we can simply use the equal command. So say $sign height equals 100. Then let's evaluate it. As you can see in the viewports, this assigned a value of 100 to it. We can also freely change the other properties of the object, like $sign length equals 100 or $sign width equals 100, setting all the dimensions of the object to 100. Note that these properties that we assign values to here have a type of float, the number type that can be a fraction as well. We assigned 100 to it, which in MaxScript's world is an integer number since it doesn't have a decimal point in it. 100 in float would look like 100.0. There was no error message at the value assignment, even though there was a type conflict, since MaxScript did a quick conversion from our integer number to the float type that the property expects. There is no loss in conversion, since the integer 100 equals to the float 100. Now let's try $sign height segments equals 10.5. Height segments is an integer property, yet we are